0347 hours, Eastern Mediterranean Sea, 47 nautical miles southwest of Cyprus. The US Dwight D. Eisenhower Carrier Strike Group cuts through calm waters under a moonless sky, navigation lights dimmed to tactical configurations. Then the encrypted flash traffic arrives. Immediate repositioning orders. Destination: the Strait of Hormuz. Within 6 minutes, every warship in the strike group registers the directive. The threat matrix has escalated. Intelligence intercepts from U.S. Central Command indicate Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps naval forces have dispersed from their Bandar Abbas anchorages. Satellite imagery confirms mobile anti-ship cruise missile batteries repositioning along the Makran coast. The scale of the mobilization is unprecedented: 37 fast attack craft, 12 missile corvettes, an estimated 200 naval mines staged for rapid deployment. The stakes could not be clearer. 1/3 of the world's seaborne petroleum transits the Hormuz chokepoint. Any disruption cascades into global economic catastrophe within 72 hours. The Eisenhower Strike Group is not alone. 12 hours earlier, the US Bataan Amphibious Ready Group received similar orders. The Bataan, an amphibious assault ship carrying 2,200 Marines from the 26th Marine Expeditionary Unit, was conducting routine operations in the Red Sea. No longer. Both battle groups now converge on the same objective: credible combat power projection into the Persian Gulf at a moment when diplomatic channels have gone silent. The Pentagon releases a terse statement confirming the deployments but declines operational specifics. Tehran responds with fiery rhetoric from Supreme Leader representatives, promising a crushing response to any act of aggression. Regional analysts note the language matches pre-conflict posturing from previous escalation cycles. This time feels different. At 0520 hours, the Eisenhower Strike Group alters course to heading 117, accelerating to 24 knots. The carrier's air wing, Carrier Air Wing 3, goes to alert condition 2. Flight deck crews begin spotting aircraft. 18 FA-18E Super Hornets, armed with ANG-88 HARM anti-radiation missiles and ANG-154 joint standoff weapons. 4 E-18G Growler electronic warfare aircraft power up jamming pods capable of blinding enemy radar systems across 300 miles of battle space. Below decks, ordnance teams load Mark 84 2,000-pound general-purpose bombs onto munitions elevators. The Air Wing's weapons inventory now exceeds 400 precision-guided munitions. Every aircraft assigned to the strike package carries maximum combat loads, fuel tanks topped off, pylons heavy with ordnance. At 0548 hours, the guided missile cruiser US Philippine Sea activates its Aegis combat system to theater ballistic missile defense configuration. The cruiser's Spy-1D radar begins sweeping Iranian airspace, tracking over 200 airborne contacts. Most are commercial traffic. 17 are Iranian military aircraft. F-14 Tomcats purchased decades ago now maintained through improvised supply chains. The cruiser's fire control officers mark each hostile aircraft, calculating intercept solutions with SM-2 Standard missiles. Engagement range, 90 nautical miles. Time to target if fired, 140 seconds. The destroyers US Gravely and US Laboon assume defensive positions 12 miles off the carrier's port and starboard flanks, their vertical launch cells loaded with 96 SM-2 and SM-6 missiles each. The defensive envelope is layered, redundant, lethal. At 0614 hours, the Bataan Group crosses latitude 24 degrees north, entering the Gulf of Oman. The amphibious ships, US Bataan, US Mesa Verde, US Carter Hall, sail in tactical formation with destroyers US Thomas Hudner and US Kearney providing air defense picket. The Bataan's well deck houses 4 landing craft air cushion hovercraft, each capable of delivering 60 tons of combat equipment across beaches at 40 knots. On the flight deck, 8 AV-8B Harrier jump jets stand ready, pilots strapped into cockpits running pre-flight checks. The Marines aboard are from the 26th MU, an air-ground task force designed for rapid crisis response. Their equipment roster includes M1A1 Abrams tanks, LAV-25 armored reconnaissance vehicles, 155 mm howitzers, and Switchblade loitering munitions. This is not a symbolic deployment. This is a forced entry capability positioned within striking distance of Iranian coastal targets. Intelligence updates arrive every 14 minutes. Iranian state media broadcasts video of ballistic missile launches. Shahab-3 missiles with 1,100-kilometer range. Enough to strike U.S. bases in Qatar and the United Arab Emirates. The launches are from mobile platforms, deliberately shown to demonstrate dispersal and survivability. U.S. Space Command tracks the trajectories, splashed down in the Arabian Sea, 400 miles south of the nearest shipping lane. The message is clear. Iran possesses the capability to hold American forces at risk. The counter-message from the approaching carrier groups is equally unambiguous: superior firepower, superior training, superior reach. At 0722 hours, both carrier groups receive updated rules of engagement from U.S. Central Command. The parameters are specific. Hostile act or hostile intent will be met with immediate defensive action. Weapons-free authorization for any Iranian naval asset within 12 nautical miles of U.S. formations. Preemptive strikes authorized against mobile missile launchers if intelligence confirms imminent launch. The tactical action officers aboard each warship brief their crews. The engagement threshold has lowered. The margin for miscalculation has evaporated. Regional allies react with urgency. The United Arab Emirates places its air force on highest alert, deploying F-16E/F Block 60 fighters to forward bases. Saudi Arabia repositions Patriot missile batteries along its eastern coast. Israel convenes an emergency cabinet session, defense officials noting the proximity of Iranian forces to critical shipping routes that supply 40% of Israel's fuel imports. Oman, historically neutral, quietly grants overflight clearances for U.S. reconnaissance aircraft. The regional architecture is activating, alliances hardening into operational commitments. At 0815 hours, an E-2D Hawkeye airborne early warning aircraft launches from the Eisenhower, climbing to 25,000 feet. Its AN/AP-9 radar provides 360-degree surveillance out to 300 miles. The radar picture reveals Iranian naval forces consolidating into three groups, one near Keshem Island, one off Jask, one hugging the Makran coastline. The fast attack craft are armed with C-802 anti-ship missiles. Chinese-designed weapons with active radar seekers and 75-mile range. A single successful strike could cripple a destroyer. A saturation attack with 20 missiles could overwhelm even a carrier's defenses. The Hawkeye's tactical data link feeds targeting information to every ship in both battle groups. The common operational picture is unified, synchronized, lethal. Diplomatic efforts intensify in parallel. The United Nations Security Council schedules an emergency session. France proposes a 72-hour cooling-off period with mutual force withdrawals. Iran's foreign ministry dismisses the proposal within 90 minutes, demanding immediate cessation of what it terms illegal naval encroachment into regional waters. The United States offers no such concession. The Secretary of Defense issues a public statement. Freedom of navigation is not negotiable. The Persian Gulf remains open to international commerce. Any attempt to close the Strait of Hormuz will be met with overwhelming response. At 10:47 hours, Iranian fast attack craft begin high-speed maneuvers near the Strait of Hormuz, executing mock attack runs against civilian tankers. The choreography is deliberate, approaching within 500 yards, then breaking off at the last moment. The harassment is designed to demonstrate control, to signal that Iran can disrupt shipping without firing a shot. US P-8 Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft circle overhead, crews documenting every movement with electro-optical sensors. The intelligence collection is exhaustive. Boat speeds, turn rates, crew complements, weapons mounts. This data feeds targeting algorithms. If conflict erupts, these same boats will be engaged within the first 5 minutes. The economic pressure mounts instantly. Crude oil futures surge 11% in Asian trading, the sharpest single-day increase in 8 months. Shipping insurance premiums for Gulf transits triple within hours. 3 major tanker operators announced temporary route suspensions pending security guarantees. The global energy market tightens. Strategic petroleum reserves in consuming nations activate release protocols. The financial cascade has begun before a single shot is fired. At 13:20 hours, both carrier strike groups reach their assigned patrol areas. The Eisenhower positions 65 miles northeast of the Strait of Hormuz, outside Iranian territorial waters but well within strike range. The Baton Group holds station 40 miles southeast, forming a 2-axis approach that divides Iranian defensive attention. The combined naval force now comprises 2 aircraft carriers, 1 amphibious assault ship, 7 guided missile destroyers, 2 guided missile cruisers, 3 amphibious transport ships, 2 attack submarines operating submerged in the Gulf approaches, and over 140 combat aircraft. The total firepower exceeds 1,200 precision-guided missiles, 400 air-launched weapons, and 2,200 combat-ready Marines. The force structure is designed for one purpose: sea control through overwhelming combat superiority. Iranian media escalates rhetoric. State television broadcasts montages of missile launches, naval exercises, and clerical leaders invoking martyrdom. The messaging targets both domestic and international audiences: defiance against perceived American imperialism, solidarity with anti-Western sentiment, resolve to defend national sovereignty. Behind the propaganda, Iranian military planners confront stark realities. Their naval forces are outranged, outcensored, and outgunned. Their air force lacks modern fighters and precision munitions. Their coastal defenses are vulnerable to suppression campaigns that U.S. forces have perfected over 3 decades of combat operations. The asymmetric options remain: mining, swarming attacks with fast boats, ballistic missile salvos against fixed bases. All carry immense risks. All invite devastating retaliation. The tactical lessons from this deployment are immediate. Carrier strike groups remain the central instrument of American power projection. Mobile, survivable, lethal across multiple domains. Amphibious ready groups provide complementary capability. The credible threat of ground force insertion that compels adversaries to defend coastlines, dispersing forces and creating vulnerabilities. The integration of air, surface, and subsurface assets into a unified kill chain demonstrates technological overmatch. Iranian forces can harass, can threaten, can impose costs. They cannot win a conventional engagement against 2 American carrier groups operating in coordinated fashion. Strategic ramifications cascade beyond the immediate military balance. China watches closely, drawing conclusions about American willingness to deploy force in defense of economic chokepoints. Taiwan's security calculates directly from this precedent. Russia assesses U.S. bandwidth for simultaneous crisis management. Every regional power recalibrates its assumptions about American resolve, American capability, American staying power. The deployment sends a signal that transcends the Gulf. The United States will project power to defend interests deemed vital, regardless of diplomatic friction or adversary threats. The risks remain acute. Miscalculation, technical failure, rogue action by Iranian Revolutionary Guard commanders operating under decentralized authority. Any could trigger exchanges that escalate beyond control. A single C-802 missile striking a U.S. warship would demand retaliation. That retaliation would target Iranian naval bases, missile sites, command nodes. Iranian responses would follow, potentially including ballistic missile strikes on U.S. regional bases or allied facilities. The escalation ladder has many rungs, each more dangerous than the last. 72 hours into the deployment, both carrier groups maintain high alert posture. No shots have been fired. No ships have been struck. The standoff persists through presence, through the silent calculus of capability and consequence. Diplomatic backchannels reopen incrementally, intermediaries proposing de-escalation frameworks that allow both sides to step back without appearing to capitulate. The outcome remains unwritten. The Strait of Hormuz remains open, not through negotiation, but through the demonstrated capability and unwavering will to defend it with overwhelming naval power.